Hi everyone, welcome to Silva's Cooking. My chicken noodle soup is simple, easy to make, with few ingredients, but it doesn't skimp on flavor. It's perfect for everyone, especially beginner cooks. I'm going to use a 5-pound whole chicken cut up, but you may use only breasts if that's what you prefer. So let's get started. I cut a couple of large slits into the breasts, and I do not use the heart, the liver, or the gizzard. I do use the neck though. I'm going to cook the chicken in my electric pressure cooker. If you don't have one, you may boil the chicken for 1 hour. I had never had an electric pressure cooker, only the regular one that goes on the stove top, so it stayed in a box for 6 months. But once I started using it, I loved it. I always use it when I boil chicken for my dogs. If yours is still in the box, get it out and try it. You're going to like it because it contains the steam, it doesn't make a mess on the stove, and the sealing valve doesn't make noise like the valve on a regular one does. After adding the chicken to the pot, place the pot back into the cooker and add 9 cups of filtered water. I don't like using just tap water. It has an off flavor, at least here in Florida, and I don't want it to change the flavor of the broth. I like to season it lightly for now with 1 tablespoon of chicken base to get it started. You may replace the chicken base with 1 tablespoon of powdered chicken bouillon or a couple of chicken bouillon cubes broken up into tiny pieces, or a tablespoon of salt, or a tablespoon of any of your favorite seasonings that contain salt. But I'll tell you, out of all the seasonings I tried in the countless chicken noodle soups I made over the last 30 years, chicken base is by far the one that makes this soup the tastiest, in my opinion. To close the pan, line up the arrows on the lid and lock it. Set the valve to the sealing position. Press the pressure cook button, the keep warm button to turn it off, and cook for 17 minutes. Once it finishes cooking and you see that the red pin is back down, you may open the pan. It smells great already. This chicken broth always makes my mouth water when I remove the lid. And the chicken is falling apart tender, with no hassle whatsoever. Look at that, falling off the bone. Stir it a little bit. Remove the chicken from the pan and place it on a large plate. There's a great tasty broth in the pressure cooker, so I strain it to get rid of all of the little bits and pieces of chicken, little pieces of bones, and the stuff I don't want in my soup. If you want the soup to be low fat, strain the broth into a glass bowl and allow it to cool completely. You may place the bowl on a cooling rack if you wish to get it to cool quicker. Then cover it with cling wrap and place it in the fridge overnight. Remove the broth bowl from the fridge the next day and spoon out the solid fat off the top the best you can. You may use a fork and see what works best for you. I remove as much fat as I possibly can. I'm going to eat the soup with a grilled cheese sandwich, so I want to cut down the soup's fat content to balance it out a little bit. Remove the bowl of chicken from the fridge and loosen it up with a spoon. Place a large saucepan on medium heat and pour the chicken broth in it. Stir it, and it doesn't take long for it to start warming up. If you don't want a low-fat soup, just strain the broth straight into the pan from the pressure cooker. In order for it to come to a boil quicker, I'm going to increase the heat to medium-high, put on the lid, and wait. So after the broth comes to a boil, you may want to add a small yellow onion chopped, a couple of stalks of celery diced, a bay leaf even, some dry seasonings like garlic powder, onion powder, any seasoning you like really, or even dry herbs. But I want my chicken noodle soup to taste chickeny. I want it to taste like chicken and the delicious homemade chicken broth that I developed. So all I'm going to add to my broth, besides the chicken and the noodles, is a couple of carrots that I diced up earlier. If you like my recipe, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. And reminding you that the links to a lot of the items I use in this video and every day, and the written recipe are in the video description. Taste the broth for salt, and if it's not salty enough for you, add a little bit more chicken base, salt, or any other seasoning that contains salt that you choose to use in this soup. I added a teaspoon of chicken base, stirred it to dissolve well into the broth, and tasted it again. I kept adding a little bit at a time because chicken base is pretty flavorful, but it's also salty, so I use it with caution. I add 1/3 of a pound of thin spaghetti. I cut it in half because it's easier to eat. The possibilities when it comes to pasta are endless here. But no matter what pasta you choose, it must be stirred immediately so it doesn't stick. And I kept stirring it, separating the strands until the broth comes back to a boil. Let the pasta cook for 8 minutes, stirring occasionally, and then slowly add the chicken. Carefully stir it all. Taste the broth again. Let it come back to a rolling boil and stir it a little bit more. I don't like pasta al dente, so I let it cook until it's soft but not mushy. When the noodles are done to my liking, I cover the pan and remove it from the heat. I like to eat this particular soup with a grilled cheese sandwich. I just get a couple of slices of sandwich bread, not too thick, not too thin. I'm going to use deli meat, and the one I grew up eating in Brazil is mortadella. I love it. It's different and really tasty, and I always ask for them to slice it not too thick, not too thin, just right. So good. And for the cheese, I chose Kobe Jack. It's perfect with everything, and it's sliced as thick as the mortadella. Butter one side of each slice for now, covering the edges all the way around. I use unsalted butter at room temperature, so it will be easier to spread and it won't tear up the bread. Heat up a medium-sized frying pan on low-medium heat and add half a tablespoon of butter. Let it melt, spreading all over the bottom of the pan. Add 4 slices of mortadella and fry a little bit on each side. You don't have to fry the mortadella, but let me tell you, frying that mortadella will bring out its flavor so much more. Place a slice of cheese on a slice of bread. Add all the mortadella, another slice of cheese, butter the rest of the bread, and fry it in the same warm frying pan. My pan was a little bit hotter than I wanted it to be, but it's okay. Flip the sandwich, and it's done. I like to cut it in half diagonally and dip it in this delicious, cozy chicken soup. I hope you like this easy, simple way to make chicken noodle soup. This is the best way for me. It makes a lot of soup and feeds a family of 4 inexpensively. It's the kind of dish that doesn't really need much in order to taste amazing. And it's perfect on a cold night, so what could be better than that? To me, nothing pairs up with it better than a fried mortadella grilled cheese sandwich. And who doesn't love a little freshly ground black pepper to top it off? The chicken is super tender, even the breast pieces. The thin spaghetti noodle is perfectly cooked to my liking and is delicious here with this amazing, flavorful homemade chicken broth that's second to none. The broth really makes it. And of course, gotta dip that fried mortadella sandwich and get a complete flavor party going. I hope you make it and love this simple yet hearty dish. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.